Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to do extra detail on your eyes to kind of make them pop and seem a little bit more realistic. It's a super small area to work in, but let's jump right into it. It's a good idea to do the eyes kind of towards the end, and then also be sure to really check the area around the eye because pretty much anything will disrupt your brush. You can kind of see here there's just this little flake or this little piece of fuzz that got on the eye, and it can easily be brushed away. With the area clear, you can just take a little bit of paint and just barely dab it onto the central part of the eye. Make sure that you're being really light. Start towards the middle and work your way out. Feel free to change the angle. You don't have to always keep the model at the same orientation. I'll often work around, turn the model, so just the very, very pointy tip of the brush is easier for me to reach those hard to reach areas. Especially for this other side, when I flip the model over, I'm being very slow, very meticulous, and making sure that I'm not getting too much paint in the wrong location. It's important to be precise, but also know the longer you wait, the quicker the paint will dry, especially around an eye. You can see here that this tiny little ball right there began to harden, so I had to very quickly scoop it up while it was still a little bit wet. Now that the eye is highlighted but also clean, I'm going to move on to the next step. I just barely get a little bit of ink on my brush, and I'm making sure to let all the excess go onto my fingernail. I'm going to stabilize my hands and then get right into there, and you can see here that I'm letting the ink now do the hard work for me. Gently starting in the corner of the eye allows me to start the initial pool of ink, and then I will kind of pull the ink around in the eye and make sure that it's evenly distributed, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm not using too much ink. Especially here, when I'm starting from this angle, you can see that I'm just barely making contact, and then this will kind of be the base, and now when I go and add more ink, the ink will flow to that initial base that I had set. Once again, I'm trying to work quickly so the ink is wet, and I don't need to use too much of it, but because I made that initial contact, now when I add more ink, I can just gently add just a little more, and then it will saturate the entire eye. Now that both eyes are evenly inked, I will just wait a little bit of time for it to dry, and then I move on to the next step where I add a pupil. And you can see here that I'm going to add just a pure black pupil, just a really small dot here, and I'm going to kind of make this iris a little bit different than a regular dot. This particular model has a very distinct pupil, so I want to have it be more of a slit. And in order to get that effect, I want to be able to position the model just like when I was doing the initial highlight. So I'm going to go from this angle, and you can see that the brush is able to get the base, but in order to get the top towards the top of the skull, I need to change my direction and make sure that the tip of the brush is able to effectively remain pointy, and that way I'm not making the pupil get onto any other parts of the model. Now you can see that the pupil has a very distinct look, and we can now move on to the final stage where we're going to be adding the smallest little bit of a highlight to kind of show that the eye has a little bit of light reflecting off the pupil. This will make it pop even more, and it's just the smallest amount of paint. I'm going to very gently approach the model with a little bit of paint on the brush, and I don't try to force it too quickly because I don't want to smother the pupil. I want to highlight and have this little white dot go right in the middle, and you can see with just that small amount of paint, the eye really pops. And with that, I'm able to have a really eye-catching look to the model, and it will also really stand out. You can see even from this far away, that tiny little drop of white paint makes the model pop and seem that much more realistic, and it is that much better. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I'm really excited to be making some more content from you guys, finally into a new location, new studio, and hopefully we will have a very productive 2022. Hope you guys are staying safe, and I will see you next time.